So about a year ago, I did a video on Lucy Letby's mugshot, and the reason I did that was because in one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, somebody posted a picture of same mugshot, but it was in the Chester Standard, and like I say, same mugshot, but looked completely different. It looked completely different from the ones that we all know from like the national papers. What looked different about it was that Lucy still had emotion in it. And I'll link the original video in there, so in this one, sorry, so you can go and watch that if you haven't seen it already. But I've decided to do a follow up because I don't know if this video is doing the rounds again, but I seem to be getting more comments on the video like a year later. There was one in particular that made me decide that I want to do a follow up on this video if I can. So let me just get that comment. So it's this one here. It says, "I'm afraid I don't believe that other person," meaning the person who posted the mugshot on Facebook. "I appreciate you won't remember who after this length of time. Ask yourself this: why isn't there one person who can post a photo with an article around it? Ask yourself that. If I'd seen that photo, I would have to ask for a copy of the paper with the date, and then I could have gone with that information to the paper and asked them for a copy of that edition to see if there was any disparity. Yes, I'm fun at parties. That's actually what I would have done and why I emailed the editor." So this person's left a number of comments on my channel on the video, and she did message the editor, and they've basically said they've printed the same picture, well, the same mugshot that everybody's seen, which is correct. They have. They've published the exact same mugshot as every other newspaper has in the country. So, and this person was right. I didn't remember who originally posted it. Like I said, it was a year ago, but it wasn't that difficult for me to find out. I just went back through my Facebook history because when I made the original video, I posted it in that Facebook group, and the first person who commented on it was the person who posted the mugshot in the first place. So I messaged that person on Facebook. I'm not going to mention the name on here because I don't know if she wants me to, but you know who you are, and thank you for replying to my messages. Because I asked if she had the actual newspaper itself and if she could take a picture of the mugshot with the article around it, and she did. So this is the mugshot with the article in it, and as you can see, it is an actual newspaper. And if that one isn't enough, I've got a couple of other things here as well. So this is the article with the date, Thursday, October 31st, 2024. And again, it's the same mugshot, but it hasn't been edited. And I did notice some other comments of people saying it could be the angle in which she took the photo. So I asked her to make a video of herself, of the paper, sorry, and basically moving in and out, moving around, doing sort of like different angles. So you can see it isn't the angle that she's taken the picture from. Yes, this is from the side. I think that angle actually shows it even better. So as we can see from that, the pictures are slightly different angles, and there's two videos from slightly different angles as well. And to me, that proves that it isn't down to the fact that it's been taken from a certain angle. It is actually an edited photo. Let me just get these together. So now we've got these together, we can see that they are, in fact, the same mugshot, but one has been heavily processed. And it's obvious which one has been processed. Now, there was other comments on the video as well, where people were saying that if I'm accusing the police of doing this, then I need to have evidence. I never accused the police of doing it, because the police didn't do it. If the police did it, they wouldn't have the Chester Standard wouldn't have been able to print this picture in the first place. So the police have not edited this. And I also never accused the Chester Standard of doing anything wrong either. But I have done quite a bit of research into this, and it is standard that newspapers do process pictures that they print. Especially mugshots. They purposely process them to make them look clear. And as what's taken away Lucy's emotion here. So, noise reduction and soothing. That blurs fine skin texture. Removes redness and blotchiness and softens puffiness around the eyes. It hides signs of crying, stress and fatigue. Contrast reduction. It lightens shadows, darkens highlights and flattens facial depth. It removes harsh lighting that reveals emotional strain. Colour correction and white balance. It neutralises warm tones, reduces red around the eyes and red areas around the eyes and cheeks. It makes skin tone more uniform. It eliminates the redness associated with crying. Mid-tone brightening and gamma adjustment. It brightens the middle brightness range. It softens harsh lighting and it makes the face look smoother and reduces the tired, strained look. Sharpening reduction. It softens the edges, removes micro expressions, blurs tension lines around the eyes and mouth, makes the expression appear flatter and more neutral. Compression and smoothing. Automatically smooths texture when the image is resized or re-exported and removes subtle detail. It blends colour variations. Emotional cues disappear unintentionally. Cropping and reframing changes how close the viewer is to emotional cues, removes context that makes distress more noticeable, and it makes the face feel more clinical and less expressive. And the overall effect for all this is all of these edits, whether intentional or automatic, work together to smooth the skin, remove redness, soften shadows, flatten expression, and reduce visible stress. The emotional impact is dramatically reduced even though it's the same photo. So, and as you can see from these images, they are the same photo. If I zoom in a bit on this, and you can see how the hair falling here is also the same in this image, and it's the same for this side as well. You can see the hair around here is exactly the same as the hair around here, but this photo shows a hell of a lot more emotion and distress than what this photo does. And like I say, I don't know if the media does this intentionally, because this isn't something that they have just done with Lucy Letby, but it is something that they do with mugshots. And technically, well, it isn't illegal to do that, because they are technically doing it to, I suppose, make a better picture or a clearer picture to print. But whether or not it is legal or not, I think there is a moral case for the fact that it is deception. This photo here is very deceptive. This is the photo that most people have seen associated with the Lucy Letby case. It is the one that media outlets still print today, and it just makes her look emotionless. It makes her look like she isn't remorseful. All the things I said in the video. The main thing I kept saying in the original one is, what do you see when you look at that photo? You just see someone unremorseful, emotionless, and someone who just looks like she is what she's being accused of, compared to this image in the Chester Standard, where you can tell there's emotion there. You can tell she looks upset, she looks scared, she looks like her whole world's just come crashing down. She looks like what you would expect someone who'd be accused of what she's been accused of to look like in a mugshot. Whether it means she's innocent or guilty, whichever one she is, this is the real image. This is what you'd expect it to look like. This is what you'd expect someone to look like that's just had their world shattered and been accused of the most serious crime that you can be accused of. And my personal preference is I do think that she is innocent. I think all the evidence that's been put up against her is circumstantial and shaky. And there isn't a smoking gun. Especially after the documentaries I've watched about her, I do think she is innocent. And I think this photo is what you'd expect her to look like in a mugshot, compared to the over-processed other one that we all know. So, like I say, what the newspapers have done isn't illegal, and I'm not saying they have deliberately done this to make Lucy look emotionless. But I think, like I said, there's a moral sort of question you have to ask yourself. If you are editing these pictures to make them look clearer to print, and then it comes out looking like that, you can see the original and then you can see the one you're about to print. Surely there is a moral question to be asked whether you should print that on the basis that it is deceptive in the fact that it has taken away all emotion. So what a lot of people are probably asking themselves now is, where did this mugshot come from that the Chester Standard printed? And it came from the official police press pack. So the mugshot was originally released by Cheshire Police as part of their official press materials. Local outlets, including the Chester Standard, received this raw, unprocessed version. It was distributed through PA Press Association. So they got it through PA, the same agency that supplies images to national outlets, and PA often distributes multiple versions of the same photo, a raw police version, a processed newsroom version. Local papers like the Chester Standard usually publish the raw file. Smaller outlets tend to upload images exactly as they receive them. They don't run through heavy automated processing or compression. That's why the Chester Standard version shows the redness, uneven tone, harsh lighting, and the visible stress. So why do the national press version look different? National outlets use PA's processed version. PA often prepares a clean version for big outlets. Smoother, brighter, less contrast, reduced redness, and more neutral colour. So, that's basically it. The bigger newspapers tend to use the more processed version, where the Chester Standard obviously used the one that wasn't processed. So, was Lucy Letby's mugshot edited? Yes. Was it done for purposely deceptive reasons? I don't think we'll ever know the answer to that question. But nonetheless, it is deceptive. If you're printing a processed image of someone, even if it is the same image, it is still deceptive. And whether we like it or not, I think as people, we are wired in a way to make judgments of how people look, how people carry themselves. We've all done it. We've all made a judgment of someone just by looking at them, whether we like to admit it or not. So I think printing an image like this and saying this person's a serial killer, they've just killed 7 babies and attempted the murder of more. What are you going to think when you look at that image compared to this one? I'm not saying that this image makes her look innocent. I'm not saying like that many people would have a different opinion on her because of this image. But it certainly makes her look more human. And is it easier to say to the public that this person looks human as a monster rather than to say somebody who looks like a soulless monster is actually a monster? I don't know. But anyway, so yes, Lucy Letby's mugshot was edited through processing.